Okay, I think it's recording. I just wanted to hop into my camera really quick. I'm gonna figure out how I can screen share on my iPad, but I wanted my iPad for today so I could do a couple of different things with an activity. So I apologize that you won't get to see me while I'm talking. So we'll continue on into Google. This is where I want it to be. I want to look at this. We're going to play this. So today we are beginning our adventure of the social class lens or Marxist literary criticism. This may be a presentation I showed you at the beginning of the year, but the stuff that it talks about with the Marxist literary criticism is really good. So we're going to look at that. Okay, so we already know about literary theory, so we're going to skip that. Wow, this is slow. Sorry, guys. The idea of the lens, the filter we're looking through, right? This is not stuff you should be taking notes on yet because I'm just getting to where I need to be. You know what? Let's do this the easier way. So let's come out and we'll pop in down here in the actual one that we want to see. Okay, so man, wouldn't this be great if I would actually pull it up where you could see? But this reading lens focuses on the idea that, and here are the things that it focuses on, there are hidden messages or extended metaphors in a text about the power struggle between the proletariat, the powerless poor, the working class, and the bourgeois, the powerful, wealthy, professional politicians. So if any of you have ever read Animal Farm, this is a perfect example of a book that is just overtly not even applying the lens of social class. It's just there. We have the pigs, who are the bourgeois, and they bourgeoisie, excuse me. They are in charge and they make all the decisions. And then you've got the other people, the proletariat, who are the poor working class people, but they're the animals. Sorry, and then they have an uprising against them. So there's always, when we look at the social class lens, we're always going to be looking for that struggle based on social classes, looking at who's in control and has power based on usually money, and then also who are the other people that are around, and how are they being possibly oppressed. And you'll notice there's this definite thing that we look for every time, the people who are being oppressed and why. So the difference here is that we're not looking for a certain gender or race, but we're looking specifically at that social class piece. So, which is actually going to be really interesting when we read The Great Gatsby, because overall, all of the main characters in The Great Gatsby are quite wealthy. And so they don't have the same oppression. And it's in a time of great wealth and overspending and so forth in the 1920s. So anyway, we'll get to that. But so the texts also show different levels of luxury and power that characters experience. So their wealth, their possessions, what they have, and why. And I think that will be an interesting thing to look at as we're looking at The Great Gatsby. Individuals don't really have free choice. They're conforming to the will of those who are in power. Now, that brings up a really interesting idea. Sometimes that power isn't just monetary, but sometimes that power is influence. And so the way that people might bend their will to others because of influence. And the texts that show individual freedom and free thought is just an illusion. So in the books, when we apply a social class lens or Marxist lens to these literatures, then we are looking for how people, they don't believe that they have free thought, or it's really difficult to see. And you'll see that it's really easy to apply this lens to dystopian literature. So if you're thinking like Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, Ready Player One, all of these books that deal with, there's certain people in charge and the other people really don't have any freedom or ability to make decisions. Also, I apologize, Adeline's in the back. So a Marxist reading of the Incy Wincy Spider. I really love this. I feel like it really kind of helps to understand the grasp here. So we have the spider. The spider symbolizes the proletariat and his ongoing struggle against the bourgeoisie. So he's going to keep struggling against the oppression of the higher class, right? The water spout is the myth of equality and the American dream. So it says that right there, that it's a myth. Now, we're not saying that necessarily, but in this lens, it is a myth. someone could make themselves better or go to a higher social class than they were born into. The spider continues to doggedly scale its heights, only to be denied the fruits of his hard work because he keeps getting washed out. The rain is the bourgeoisie, impeding the progress of the spider and standing between him and his ultimate goal of true freedom and equality. The rain also embodies man's inhumanity to man. So, it's getting in between the spider and his goal of getting to the top of the water spout, but it also is, showing how some people treat other people in inhuman ways. And then we have the sun. The sun is the easing of difficult living and working conditions. And that happens over and over again. But it provides false hope for the spider, making him think, oh, I can do it. And then it says again, prolonging his struggle because he keeps getting up on that water spout and the rain comes. And you guys know how the nursery rhyme goes. It washes the spider out. So you have the eensy-weensy spider climbed up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the eensy-weensy spider went up the spout again. So if you think about it in this lens, he keeps struggling to get up that water spout, and every time he's almost there, the rain comes and washes him down, and the sun gives him false hope, and he keeps going up again. So kind of an interesting reading of the eensy-weensy spider. Okay, so now what we're going to do is change gears just a little bit, but we are going to apply this reading to your first of our Marxist readings. And we always do this. We pull in short stories and speeches and so forth. And this is probably the biggest reason that Camp says that we are communists and honors American lit. So I apologize, but here we are. So we're going to look specifically at the Ballot or the Bullet. And this is written by Malcolm X. If you're not sure who that is, he was one of the leaders of the Black Panthers. They were a less peaceful movement in the civil rights. They were not against fighting for what they needed. But so here we are. So, while attention focused on civil rights activities in the South, many African Americans were increasingly drawn to the Black nationalist themes of Nation of Islam and, in particular, its most compelling spokesman, Malcolm X. Born Malcolm Little, he became a Black Muslim while in prison in the late 1940s. By the end of 1963, he had broken with Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad, made a pilgrimage to Mecca, and begun to develop his own movement, the Organization of Afro-American Unity. The speech excerpted below was given in Cleveland in April 1964. During this last period of his life, on February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated while speaking in Harlem. Okay, now I'm going to pick a color that I like. Now, obviously, you can pick a different color, but he says, although I'm still a Muslim, I'm not here tonight to discuss my religion. I'm not here to try and change your religion. I'm not here to argue or discuss anything that we differ about, because it's time for us to submerge our differences and realize that it is best for us to first see that we have the same problem. And as again, remember, some of the important things to note here are that you really don't want to be highlighting and underlining more than just a few words here, right? Otherwise, it's too much. So the same problem. So, what is that problem? That's going to be my question. And I wish I had a really great Apple Pencil, but I don't. So, alas, here we are. So they have the same problem, a common problem, he says, a problem that will make you catch hell, whether you're a Baptist or a Methodist or a Muslim or a nationalist. Whether you're educated or illiterate, whether you live on the boulevard or in the alley, you're going to catch hell just like I am. Now, this is interesting because, remember, we're not doing a race lens necessarily. We are looking specifically for some of those class things. And so this is why I'm underlining educated and illiterate, because those are the words that really stick out when we're looking at social class. We're all in the same boat, he says, and we are all going to catch the same hell from the same man. He just happens to be a white man. All of us have suffered here in this country political oppression at the hands of the white man. Now, this is important to note. It's really difficult, even as we were reading Maya Angelou's autobiography, it was difficult to split the race issues from the gender issues that she was experiencing. And I believe that's because of the history of oppression. And so I think here we're going to see a lot of that in this same vein. Now, not in every single thing that we're going to be reading, but in this one specifically. So he continues, all of us have suffered here in this country political oppression at the hands of the white man, economic exploitation. Now that is going to be really key, that economic exploitation, right? Remember, we're looking for those social class things at the hands of the white man. And social degradation at the hands of the white man. So we have social degradation, we have political oppression, and economic exploitation, all things that kind of stem from that same social class situation. Now, in speaking like this, it doesn't mean that we're anti-white, but it does mean we're anti-exploitation, we're anti-degradation, we're anti-oppression. And if the white man doesn't want us to be anti-him, let him stop oppressing and exploiting and degrading us. Whether we are Christians or Muslims or nationalists or agnostics or atheists, we must first learn to forget our differences. If we have differences, let us differ in the closet. Then, when we come out in front, let us not have anything to argue about until we get finished arguing with the man. If the late President Kennedy could get together with Khrushchev and exchange some wheat, we certainly have more in common with each other than Kennedy and Khrushchev had with each other. If we don't do something real soon, I think you'll have to agree that we're going to be forced either to use the ballot or the bullet. It's one or the other. Now, this is really interesting, the ballot or the bullet. So looking either for the right to vote or violence, right? So we have here the vote or, and that's as far over as it's going to let me go, violence. Woo! That got really interesting. Okay, so we've got that going on. The ballot or the bullet, which is where the title comes from, right? It's one or the other in 1964. It isn't that time is running out. Time has run out. 1964 threatens to be the most explosive year America has ever witnessed. The most explosive year. Why? It's also a political year. It's the year when all of the white politicians will be back in the so-called Negro community jiving you and me for some votes. The year when all the white political crooks will be right back in your and my community with their false promises, building up our hopes for letdown. Ooh, now that sounds a little bit like what we were just talking about, right? That false hope, the false promises, the false hope. And when you think about, the spider, but also the fact that when we looked at the Marxist literary criticism, it was that not real, right? Let's see, with their trickery and their treachery, with their false promises, which they don't intend to keep. As they nourish these dissatisfactions, it can only lead to one thing, an explosion. And now we have the type of black man on the scene in America today who just doesn't intend to turn the other cheek any longer. Don't let anybody tell you anything about the odds are against you. If they draft you, they send you to Korea and make you face 800 million Chinese. If you can be brave over there, you can be brave right here. These odds aren't as great as those odds. And if you fight here, you will at least know what you're fighting for. Now, he's going to continue talking about, the fact that they need the right to vote. And it's just another about 2 pages. So you are going to need to get on here and continue looking for some of those things. And remember, we are specifically looking for examples of oppression. We're looking for a rich elite, if you will. And we're looking for the working class. And the working class especially needs to be showing us some false hope and false freedom. Because remember, that's something that they don't actually have, that false freedom and choice and opportunity. So those are the things that you're looking for as you continue reading through this assignment. This reading, excuse me. When you're done, you're going to go into Canvas and you'll notice that here in this social class lens, you're going to first watch this video, right, and do these things. You're going to complete annotating the ballot or the bullet, and then you're going to turn in your answers to these questions. And I would just add these to the bottom of your annotated ballot or bullet paper so you can just turn in one thing. And that will be your assignment for today. One other thing to note, over here on the side, you can see I'm highlighting the bookmark Gatsby PDF. And that, if you want a hard copy of that for your book, you can go ahead and print that off. You're going to have to probably cut it, but that is there. I will also, before you see this, there will be a vocab list. And one of the things that you need to do for the vocab list is make sure that you look at the Quizlet that I will have linked there and preview those words. If you have any questions about those words, get in touch with me, let me know. We will do a little review on Thursday, maybe via Zoom, or we'll just have to see what we can do. And then we will have a quiz. It'll look different. We will have a vocab quiz this Friday, April 3rd. So thank you for stopping in and listening to my talking about the Marxist criticism. I gotta stop this video.